So either you believe that or you don't. That's why the personality test with extroverted and introverted, extroverts tend not to hold credence with a lot of the things that are suggested as being spiritual. There's a certain way to work with those people and help them get a clearer picture in explanation, for instance. And so what I typically tell extroverts that I do work with is that we're talking about an ego, which is a part of our psyche, that and a self. Self is this other, and whether or not you want to call it God, goddess, the energy, but we're born with that, and then the ego separates out. It has to, because it marshals what we do, what we buy for lunch. Yeah, it helps us to drive. But once that becomes, and so there's always a connection between self and ego, but that ego gets larger and larger with some of the approaches that we use in life. Alcohol, especially, seems to make that get bigger and bigger, so that it takes on functions that it was never intended for, and it loses that sense of being connected to self. What I'm thinking, what I feel happens actually then with Metis, and it may be with other psychedelics as well, is that the debris that that uh, that wraps around that link is removed, and the ego actually, the charge, the valence of this actually is diminished. So the ego becomes right sized and finally is able to realize that it does have this connection with something larger. That's the descriptive that I get, that I give to people. It's also something that I have commonly told back to me is, Sheila, I don't know how this happened, but I just feel connected to something larger. Well, that's a right size ego and a relationship with something larger. And that's the best way to describe it. So that's one of the techniques that I use to try to explain this to folks that might not, just because of their orientation, because of their attitude, might not understand that.